Hello, miss.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
You are late today? Like 6 minutes?
Yeah. I woke up a few minutes ago. That's why I had to take some time to get ready.
Oh, you were sleeping?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, I would like to tell you that you have sent 3 homeworks.
Yeah.
And how much time did you take to complete that?
1.5 hours.
How did you solve it? Google, or you used your book, or you used the whatever you understood in the lecture?
It's the book.
Book. Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one, which was physiology.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that only 2 answers are correct and rest of them were wrong.
Yeah.
And you still have one homework pending, and today I'll be sending few more questions. Okay?
Okay.
Now, what I'm trying to say is, in the next lecture, I'll be taking a test of you for molecular biology and human physiology. Okay? You have
Okay.
1 week time to prepare yourself. Okay, and in that week you will be solving all the questions which were sent to you in the homework. Okay, and those questions which you got wrong, I'll discuss that in the next lecture. Okay, of both the homeworks. So at that time you need to answer all the questions. And today your parents are available for the PTM.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, miss.
Yeah. Where were we? I don't remember. Yes. Okay. We'll be having a test, and all these questions I'll be discussing in the next class. Okay? And today we'll complete this chapter. And yes, I was asking, are your parents available today for the PTM?
Yeah.
Okay, so when, like around 9:45 or 9:50, I'll talk to them. Okay?
Yeah.
9:50 IST. I don't know what time will be there. Okay?
Okay.
While solving the questions, do you have any doubt?
When I was solving the question. Yeah, miss, I had doubt.
So you can ask me. And why you are wearing headphone only on one ear?
Oh, because I need to hear like the outside noise also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So your doubts, please.
So I forgot the question.
Whenever you have a doubt, please write it in a notebook so that whenever we have a lecture, you can ask me the doubt.
Okay.
Okay, just do that from the next time.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so we did digestive system.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we did the circulatory system, the heart and everything.
Yeah.
When are you having your exam?
21st November.
21st.
Yeah.
You're ready for that? All
Yeah,
done?
miss. Yeah, I'll just do some exam questions and it'll be fine.
Okay, great. We did the immune system also. Did we do the yes, we did the respiratory system last time. This nervous system is remaining. This we shall do today. Hormone we did in the last lecture, no? Hello?
Yeah.
Till which hormone did we complete in the previous class?
Till the hormone is released for estrogen, right? We finished with estrogen. For women.
No, all these we did not do. The cycle and everything. Okay, fine. Today we'll start with the nervous system and we'll finish this also. Neurons and synapses. Have you heard about neurons before it? Before time? Like before today? Have you ever heard about neurons?
Yeah.
What are neurons?
That is the part that the cells in the brain.
And what are the parts of neuron?
I don't know the parts.
Sachin, you are still sleepy?
No.
Okay. Okay. If time permits, I'll discuss the questions of why it is not working. Okay. So, can you tell me any parts of the neuron over here?
No, miss, I haven't like learned the neurons as this. I forgot. So I don't know. That's
Okay. Here, these are known as dendrites. Okay, these are known as nerve endings. This is called as axon, and this is known as myelin sheath. Okay, this in the center is a nucleus. We have some dot-like structures over here, and those dot-like structures, they are known as Micelles, they are known as Micelles granules. They are nothing but they are chain of ribosomes. Okay, I'll repeat whatever I have taught again. So these are dendrites. This is a nucleus at the center, and it also have some dotted structure which are known as Micelles granules, and Micelles granules are nothing, they are chain of ribosomes. And this portion is known as axon. I have a covering over here which is known as myelin sheath, and this is known as nerve endings. Okay, and how do the message goes from like in the neuron? An impulse is received at the dendrites. It transfers with the help of axon, and from nerve endings it is transferred to the next neuron. So it is like that. The sequence is that way. Like you have a neuron here. These are the nerve endings. Here you have another neuron. This is nerve ending of one neuron, and this is dendrite of another neuron. Okay, so there is a connection between these two neurons, and this gap is known as synapse. Hello?
Yeah, Miss, I understand.
Hello? Hello, Saksham. Yeah. Okay. Did you
Yeah,
understand the structure of the neuron?
Yeah.
Okay. So the impulses travel from the dendrites to the nerve endings through the axon. And now there is a covering which I told you. This covering is made up of myelin sheath. Okay. Now what is myelin sheath? It is a sheath of fats or lipids. As you know that lipids, they are insulating. Like they do insulation. So the nerve impulse, what happens with the nerve impulse? The nerve impulse jumps from node to node. Okay. The places where myelin sheath is present, impulse does not transmit there. It jumps from node to node, and these nodes, they are known as node of Renvier. Okay. So this is how impulse gets transmitted into neurons. You have neurons of two types. They can be either myelinated, that means they either have myelin sheath, or they can be non-myelinated. Okay. There are two types of neurons, one with myelin sheath and others with not myelin sheath. Okay. So as I told you, this is the structure. This is dendrite here. This portion is known as cell body. This region is known as axon, and this covering is known as myelin sheath. And these are the terminals known as synaptic terminals, which I told you. And synapse is a microscopic junction. It is not visible. Okay. Are you alright today? Don't seem so.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Now, do you know what is a stimuli?
Stimuli.
Think about it. You might have heard about it somewhere or the other.
Like something you like touch?
Yeah, stimuli is anything which will force you to respond is known as a stimuli. Okay, a dog running towards you is a stimuli. Touching a hot plate is a stimuli. So anything which forces you to respond is known as a stimuli.
Okay.
And the myelination of nerve fibers allow for saltatory conduction. Now, what do you mean by the saltatory conduction? Saltatory conduction is jumping from node to node, is known as saltatory conduction, which I told you in the previous whiteboard, that the impulse jumps from node to node. See, and myelin sheath is made up of cells which are known as Schwann cells.
Okay.
Okay, tell me, if the impulse goes straight, then it will reach faster, or when it jumps from places to places, then it will reach faster?
If we go straight.
Sure.
I mean, it depends, like, what's the how long it jumps.
No, actually what happens is, when it goes straight, there will be some interferences in between, but when it is jumping from node to node, those interferences are not there, and it reaches faster. So it's just like when you run alone or when you are in a relay race. Which one is better? A relay race is better. That way.
Yeah.
Okay. So in between myelin are gaps called nodes of Ranvier. See, in myelinated neurons, the impulse can jump from one node to the next. This is called saltatory conduction. This allows myelinated neurons to conduct impulses up to 100 times faster than the unmyelinated axons. Okay, and 90% of the neurons in our body, they are myelinated, so that we have faster conduction of impulses. Okay.
Okay.
Now I will be explaining you types of neurons. Do you know reflex action and reflex arc?
No, I never studied this.
Okay.
I don't know.
See, one is sensory and one is motor and one are interneurons. Now, what do you mean by reflex action? Reflex action is nothing, it is just your response to the stimuli. It's known as your reflex action. Now, what is your reflex arc? All the lectures of other subjects also you have at this time only?
What do you mean?
Like, you also study chemistry and mathematics on this website. So,
yeah,
you have same time, 8:30, like 8:30 IST.
8:30 IST for chemistry and 1 p.m. IST on Friday for math.
Okay, so you are available at that time? On Friday you don't do, okay, Friday and Saturday you have off.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And
okay, reflex arc. Now what is reflex arc? Reflex arc is the pathway followed by the impulse. Okay, so when you are, suppose you are touching a hot object. Okay, so when you touch a hot plate, okay, the hotness of the place is sensed by receptors on hand. Okay, and the message from the sense organ to brain will go with the help of sensory neuron. So sensory neuron brings the impulse, and from brain it will go to your muscle, which is actually called as effector because it acts. So what do you do when you touch a hot plate? You sense it is hot and then you remove your hand from that. And how do you remove your hand from that? Just because of the muscle, because your muscle pulls. So you're able to remove your hand that way. So from sense organ to brain, it is sensory neuron, and from brain to muscle, it is motor neuron.
Okay.
Okay, this is your reflex arc. Reflex arc is the pathway followed by the impulse. So in brief, you can say that it is like this. Stimuli, receptor, brain or spinal cord, and then to your effector. Okay, so this is the and yes, after effector what you do is the response. So this entire path is known as your reflex arc. The pathway followed by the impulse is known as reflex arc. Done?
Yeah.
Okay. And the neuron which takes the impulse from receptor to brain or spinal cord is known as sensory neuron, and from brain to spinal cord is the motor neuron. And the one neuron which relays the impulse between each of the neuron is known as interneuron. Okay?
Yeah.
Now we'll be learning how impulse is transmitted. Okay? How is impulse transmitted in a neuron? What happens is that this is your neuron. Okay? So the bigger version of this will be this. Okay, this is your neuron or your axon. Okay. As soon as the impulse arrives, sodium goes in and potassium goes out. Okay. So how will you remember? Sodium is Na. N. From N, you remember inside. And from this, you remember outside. Actually, what happens is that outside you have more Na and inside you have more K. So as soon as the impulse comes, Na goes out and K comes in, which is this.
So what is it?
Na is Na enters. Okay. Now the steps are, first of all, the resting membrane potential, like when there is no impulse, the axon is at rest, and the potential is the minus 70 millivolt. Okay. So as soon as the impulse comes, Na is coming inside and potassium is going outside. First, sodium channel opens, which allows sodium to enter inside, and this makes the membrane potential positive. It makes it as plus 30 millivolt. And at plus 30 millivolt, this potassium channel open. And then potassium start going outside. And potassium start going outside, which again makes the membrane potential back at minus 70 millivolt. These channels, they are known as voltage gated channels. Like when there is a change in the potential, these channels open up. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, the time period when a neuron that is not conducting a nerve impulse but is ready to conduct one is known as resting potential. So when the neuron is at rest, it is known as resting potential. Okay. Now, what happens is that okay. See, normally what happens is that the outside membrane is positive, inside is negative. Okay. As soon as the impulse arrives, the inside becomes positive and outside becomes negative. This is known as depolarization. Okay. So this impulse will pass in this direction. And since it has passed on from this place, this passing on will again changes the potential back to positive outside and negative inside, which is known as repolarization. And this entire process is known as action potential.
So this word is called
as this. See, action potential. Okay, wait, I have the text. First, I'll explain you with the help of a graph and then you can understand. See, first of all, your membrane is at rest. Leave it. Okay. First of all, your membrane is at rest and at the time the potential is minus 70 volt. As soon as the impulse comes, the impulse should be at least minus 50 millivolt. This is known as threshold. Threshold means this value should cross. If the impulse is not able to cross this value, then the action potential cannot be generated. So it is like, let me say that before entering the 8th standard, you should at least pass 7th standard. So 7th standard is the threshold for entering the 8th standard. So for the beginning of the action potential, you should at least have the potential as minus 55 millivolt. Am I clear? Okay.
Yeah.
So earlier the potential is minus 70, and then the impulse must be at least minus 55 millivolt. And as soon as the impulse is of minus 55 millivolt, then what happens? Sodium channel open, sodium starts coming in. This phase is known as depolarization. Okay, and the membrane potential reaches plus 40. This leads to opening of potassium channels, and then potassium starts going out. Okay, potassium starts going out. Now these potassium channels are a bit leaky channels. Leaky means it continues to leak. So the membrane potential even reaches up to minus 80 or minus 100 millivolt. Okay, then after some time these channels they get closed, and then you have sodium, potassium, ATPase. This is a pump. What does this pump do? This again restores the value of sodium and potassium. Like inside sodium was more and outside potassium was less. So it again restores the normal value, and the neuron comes back to its resting stage. So clear?
Oh.
So it is like that. Earlier your membrane is at minus 70 millivolt, and then it should cross the threshold. As soon as it crosses the threshold, sodium channels will open, sodium will start coming in, and as soon as the membrane potential becomes plus 30 or plus 40, potassium channels will open. Potassium will start going out. And as soon as the membrane potential becomes too negative, like more than minus 70 millivolt, then the potassium channel close and sodium potassium ATPase start working. It restores the normal value of sodium and potassium in the neuron. Am I clear? Okay. There is something which is labeled over here is as this. See this one, refractory period. What is refractory period? A period in which your neuron cannot fire an impulse. Okay? Like no matter how much you try to activate it, it will not be activated. So Saksham, tough task for you. Please tell me the steps of action potential.
Okay. When the stimulus, the neuron passes the threshold, and after that the sodium pump opens, and as the sodium ions go inside the neuron, the voltage increases to positive 30, and when it does that, the potassium pump opens and it goes out, and after that's when the
sodium potassium
the stimulus. No, that's after the sodium thing, right?
Sorry?
I mean the stimulus. That's when the stimulus goes through, right, miss? And then when it goes like below minus 70, the sodium potassium ATPase levels the sodium and potassium ions again, right?
It restores the level of sodium and potassium. Hello?
Yeah, miss?
Yeah. Okay. So this, whatever I explained is just in theory. In that, let's go through it once. Action potential are rapid changes in the membrane potentials. Okay. They consist of rapid depolarization and rapid repolarization. What is depolarization? Change of membrane potential. And what is repolarization? Again, making the potential same is known as repolarization. So, okay, how does it arise? It arrives with the help of a stimulus. Your sodium channels begin to open, and when it reaches a threshold of minus 40, many sodium channels open and Na rapidly diffuses into the neuron. And now the inside becomes more positively charged, which is known as depolarization, which makes potassium channels open and makes the potential and the membrane again negative, which is known as repolarization. And there is a refractory period, which I told you which cannot take the impulse again, and secondly, the impulse cannot go back in the same direction. Okay. Now you're not well today. Again, suffering from cold or something. Okay.
No, I'm fine.
No, you are not as cheerful as you are in all the lectures. Afraid of the PTM? Afraid of the PTM?
What, miss? No, miss, I just had a lot of exams at this month.
Okay, so you are so serious about exams, and that is why you are a bit what should I say, sad or unhappy?
No, miss, I don't have enough time to revise. No.
Okay, but your schools are open now, or they are still closed?
It's open.
So sadly, you are replying it's open. Don't worry. Don't worry. Day after tomorrow is just Friday. You'll be having a leave.
Yeah. But still, Miss, I have a chemistry exam in 2 weeks, and I have a whole chapter 1 exam for bio and a business exam
This
this
Sunday?
Sunday. That's
Where is the exam?
yeah.
On your school?
No, business exam. Yeah, business exam. It's like a whole chapter for business, 100 pages.
Business? Business is
Yeah.
a subject.
Yeah.
Okay, you have business also?
Yeah, I take business.
Just like commerce.
No, my subjects are bio, business, chemistry, math, Spanish, and English. That's my subject.
Because in India you cannot
Yeah.
take like this. A student of science has to take only science. They cannot take business or anything like that.
Oh, no, it's not like that.
Great.
No.
US is way much better. They can take any subject. Okay.
But it depends curriculum.
Great, because at least business you should know. Otherwise, a science student becomes dumb and it is like this way, going this way. With the business, your broad spectrum increases. You start looking at things in a different way. Okay, now I think you are clear with action potential. Okay, so I'll be telling something about it and then we'll going up to synapse in detail. Now, how do we measure these potentials? We use a method which is known as which we use an object which is known as oscilloscope. Okay, so oscilloscope is used to measure the potential. Okay. We just did the synapse. Can you tell me what synapse is?
It's a connection between two neuron cells, right?
Great. I thought you were sleepy, but you are not. Okay. See, this is a nerve ending of one neuron, and this is a dendrite of another neuron. Okay. So as soon as the impulse reaches over here, there are vesicles. Okay, these vesicles are known as synaptic vesicles. Okay, just like we have our armies on the border, they are ready. Okay, so these synaptic vesicles, they are already docked on the membrane. Some of them are docked on the membrane. Docked. Okay, dock means attached. Okay, and some are there which are getting synthesized. Okay, so what happens as soon as the impulse comes, these synaptic vesicles release their neurotransmitter. Okay, these synaptic vesicles release neurotransmitter in the synapse. Okay. Okay. So you have neurotransmitters in the synapse. Okay, the synaptic gap. Now you have receptors on this. Okay, this is known as presynaptic membrane. Okay, and this is known as postsynaptic membrane. Okay, this is presynaptic and this is postsynaptic. So the neurotransmitter comes and binds over here. It initiates the action potential in this neuron. Okay, and this neurotransmitter is broken down here by an enzyme and absorbed again in the previous synapse. So every time it is not resynthesized. What happens? Synthesized, released, it binds, and then it again goes back. Just like a postman. Postman brings the message, it gives to you, and it goes back. So every time you do not have a new postman to send a message. But here the same thing applies. You do not have the different neurotransmitter every time. The same neurotransmitters is recycled. Okay. So as soon as the impulse come over here, there is just like we did endoplasmic reticulum, there is one reticulum known as sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay. Why it is different? Because it has calcium stored inside it. What does it have? Calcium.
Okay.
Hello. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, miss.
Okay. Just at least do so that I know that you are there.
No, just lags out.
That is what I'm saying, because when you're looking at me, I think that you are looking at me. Because when you're doing I know that you are listening. There is no lag. Okay? Now, this post-synaptic membrane receives the impulse. What happens? Calcium is released. Okay? This calcium opens the sodium channels in this neuron, and in this neurons the action potential starts generating. Okay, so now I'll be explaining you with the help of the diagram, so it will be much more clear to you. Okay, see, this is synapse. Okay, this is presynaptic neuron and this is postsynaptic neuron. Okay, now let's read the text once. As the nerve impulse reaches the axon terminal, the presynaptic neuron, the positive charge from the depolarization causes voltage-gated channels permeable to calcium to open. So calcium, it flows into the presynaptic neuron, which increases the calcium level in the presynaptic neuron. This calcium binds to the neurotransmitters and which releases the neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft. Okay. Then they diffuse into the postsynaptic neuron, and then they open the sodium channels, and this influx of positive charge leads to action potential. And okay, now you will be able to understand better. This is a presynaptic neuron and this is a postsynaptic neuron. Okay. Now, impulse comes, calcium opens. This calcium binds to these synaptic vesicles, and then they release the neurotransmitters in the synaptic cleft. Okay. These neurotransmitters activate these channels. These channels are what channels? These are sodium channels. Okay. We learned that sodium comes inside, potassium goes outside. Isn't it? So, this calcium activates this sodium channel, which leads to the entry of the sodium inside these channels, and then you have the sodium inside the postsynaptic neuron, and this generates a nerve impulse. Okay.
Okay. Miss, you didn't send me the file. So you told me you're going to send this file.
I forgot to send. That is what. And between since 4 to 5 days, it was a festive season, so I was unable to open my laptop even. I was so busy with all the things in my home. That way. Because like right now I have to send you the homework of this chapter. I'll send these documents with that only, and in the next class, okay, which chapter do you want to start in the next class? Yes, we'll be finishing it today. How many chapters did you complete in chemistry and mathematics? How many chapters did you finish in chemistry and mathematics? No, in
school or in Testprepkart? Oh, in Testprepkart I finished in second chapter, and maths we are
still on the first chapter.
Still in the first chapter. Yeah.
It is completed in the school.
School is still doing first chapter, first unit.
So you are slower in mathematics or according to school only? Okay.
Went to school. The school is going very slow. I don't know why.
Actually, they want you to understand everything nicely. Because if they'll rush, you won't understand, and then there is no point of understanding.
Yeah.
I hope you understand whatever I teach you, because I don't see the feedback coming from your side. I said that I hope you understand whatever I teach you, because I don't see the feedback coming from your side. Feedback means
how can I revise after
your improvement. Okay, did you get the grades of your test? What are they? You did not tell me. You should tell me from front. Ma'am, I got the grades. Ma'am, these are the grades. Yes.
I got. I send the scan of the test and that will get easy. I send the scan of the test and
you have
to the team and
the scan of the test to Testprepkart. Okay, you will send it. Oh, you have to tell me the marks at least, the grades.
Oh.
You don't remember?
Right here. Yes, I have it right. I got 27 out of 42.
What were the highest?
That's very bad. Highest in my class was 36.
So what all questions were wrong?
No, it wasn't all. I think like my questions weren't wrong. Like they weren't I didn't explain it like.
MCQs or they were answers.
First part of the paper was just like multiple choices, which I got all correct, and there were 1, 2, 3, 4.
And you got them all correct.
6 questions for multiple choice.
Good.
All correct. And then there was a graph. You had to analyze the graph. So for that, it was out of 7 marks. I got 1, 2, 3.
You got
3 out of 7. That. Yeah, I should have add more detail. That's why. And there was a magnification question I got wrong. Yeah, and then it was out of 7 marks. The whole thing I got 4 to 7 for that. And the magnification question I got it wrong, but the explanation there was one question called, is the micrograph taken from a prokaryotic or eukaryotic cell? Give an evidence for your answer. I got that right. And another question was, there are many advantages of having nuclear material confined inside the nuclear membrane. List 2 of them. I listed 2, but only one of them was right. So one was wrong and one was right. So I got one mark for that. It was out of 2 marks.
Send a scanned copy so that I can see, I can analyze what all mistakes you are doing, so that we can work on it. I want you to score 42 on 42 in the next session. How much did you score in chemistry?
Yeah, I'm second. Chemistry didn't have an exam yet.
Like,
The
how many
first
exams
exam
did
was
you
in
have?
2 weeks.
Bio and
0. The first for chemistry 0, for math 1, and for
okay.
bio
Now,
1.
what are your score in mathematics?
Oh, very
No,
bad.
it's all
I
right.
got very bad
Everybody
marks.
is bad. Everybody is good in some subjects. What are the score? Come on, tell me.
I got
30 out of
30 out
100?
of 100. Very bad. Yeah, man.
It is too less. Highest for
Very less. I was very shocked. Highest in my class was like
50. That means the
55 out of
paper
100.
was tough because getting 50 on 58 on 100.
Very.
But yes, 50 on 100 is
50 out of
50%
100.
result. That means either the paper was
Yeah,
tough or
50%.
the checking was tough. Something or the other mistake was there. So did you ask the teacher at Testprepkart that all these mistakes you did and you should work on them? You have
I
to
didn't tell her the marks.
teacher should know all the flaws of the students. It's just like a doctor should know the condition of the patient. A teacher should know the condition of the student. How will work on you? We need to work on you.
Yeah, the course is very hard. Actually,
So did you tell your grades to parents? So
Like, what
I'm
did you
saying
say?
that
Voice?
your parents know?
My parents know.
No, or you did not tell them.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
didn't
you
tell
did
the
not.
marks, but they got the email. No, they got the email from the school. So
Okay, so what all
but they got the
what
email
all
from
thing
the
happened
school.
at your home?
My
Both of them
parents
were
are
angry, or
angry.
only father was angry?
His mom was lenient, but dad was very angry.
You are a single child? So that means they are very much
Yeah,
conscious and possessive on you. I can understand. They can have this thing because you are the only focus of them.
yeah. Miss, for my exams, it's not out of 42. Like it's out of like 7. Like, but you have to meet a criteria to get out of 7. So like it doesn't matter what you get out of 42,
Out
but
of?
you have to get a 7 or a 6. That wouldn't matter. 7, like to get a 7, you have to get between 36 or 42 points. So it doesn't matter how much you get between that 36 to 42 points. If you get a
I
7,
do not
it's a 7.
understand what you are trying to say. Can you please say that again?
Like I said 27
Yeah.
out of 40. I got 27 out of 42. But in actual the only mark that matters is out of 7.
So these 42 will
Out
be
of
converted
7.
to 7.
So like to like so yeah. So like between like I got 27. So 27
Okay.
between 27 and 32 is a 5. 32 to 37 is a 6.
Okay.
And
So
37
you
to
needed
42
7,
is a 7.
but you did not get 7. You get around I think 5 or 4.
No.
You got 5. So now what
I
will
got
happen
5
if you
out
get
of
5? Then what happens? Like you have to give
What do you know what
re-exam or it gets calculated at the end of the year.
Almost like I got 5 right now, but if I get but if I get a 6 in the next exam, my grade will become
When did you get
become a
these
6.
results?
Become 6.
Last week.
Like last week.
Okay. Now you should start working because time is running.
Miss, like the question, the final part of the paper was like the most marks. It was out of how many marks? It was out of 18 marks. So the first thing was explain the endosymbiosis theory. It was out of 4 marks. So I got 3 out of 4 for that. And then it says compare with the aid of a diagram the structure of a generalized prokaryote and eukaryote. It is out of 8 marks.
Very good.
So I got full marks for that. And the end part says, the first cells must have arisen from non-living matter, outline the evidence for the stages that could have led to the formation of the first cells. It's talking about the Miller experiment. So I got 2 out of 6 for that. I should
2 out of 6.
Yeah, I didn't explain it well. Yeah.
Okay. So so
I
it's
didn't
okay.
explain it
See,
properly.
anyways, you know it, so you can explain it better. So the way how my teachers used to say, I say to my students, write an answer in such a manner that the person who is reading your answer does not know anything. He will know everything from your answer only. Okay, so when you write a detailed answer, any layman or any person reading that answer will understand what you are trying to say. Okay, so just try to write answers the way that you want anybody to understand by reading your answers. You expect that the teacher knows this, and then you write less. Okay, so when you write less, like, you get less marks. So in biology, you have to be detailed. So if it is like that, I will tell you some theory questions also for cell to prepare. So at least you can prepare them. Okay, because anyways you are going to get theory, and Testprepkart sends only MCQs for solving. So I'll send some theory questions so that you are able to get the answer of them. Like, you are able to prepare it. So we can do one thing, that I can send you questions, theory questions. You solve them. You can write them, you can type them, you can do whatever you want, and just send back to Testprepkart. And I'll check and I'll assess that how are you writing. That will be better for you. Getting it? Because eventually what matters is your marks. If you get good marks, like, my goal will be accomplished. So now, since I know that you are weak, not weak, but you need little bit more help in writing, so I can help you that way. Okay, so I'll send you some questions. So the entire cell chapter. Okay, fine. Then I'll frame some questions of cell chapter and I'll send it to you. Like, I'll send it to Testprepkart, you solve it, and then you can send it to me by next Wednesday. Next to next Wednesday will be fine, or you can do in half slots.
Okay.
It is your wish, because it is just extra work from my side.
Okay.
Done? Okay, now let's finish this up and then we can ask your parents to come. Okay?
Miss, my best friend, one of my best friends, got higher than me.
Okay, he got more than you in biology. Wow.
He got highest in the class. But he asked me for help for the chapter.
He asked you to help to teach him the chapter, and he got more than you. This proves that you are a very good teacher.
Yeah.
That means you're a very good teacher. At least you can teach very nicely. But it's alright. Now, since you know that your flaw is your writing, just we'll work on that. Okay? And do you have bio exam in November?
Okay.
From 21st?
Yeah, I have a full chapter 1 exam on 21st November.
It's alright. We'll prepare ourselves before 15th November. Okay? Okay? Now, let's finish this chapter. Okay? Okay. Now see, acetylcholine, I told you about acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter. Okay, which I told you it is released at the synapse. Okay. So this is secreted by the presynaptic membrane. Okay, it diffuses and it binds on the postsynaptic membrane, and once it has released from the receptor, the enzyme called I told you that the neurotransmitter is broken and accepted again, and this acetylcholine is broken by acetylcholine esterase, okay, into choline and acetate, which are reabsorbed, again synthesized, again released back. So this happens with it. Okay. Now, how can we use this mechanism? See, okay, if you want to kill the insects, what you can do? You can inhibit the enzyme which is breaking acetylcholine. Okay. Since this enzyme will be inhibited, it will not be able to break acetylcholine, and acetylcholine will not be able to be reabsorbed. And since if it is not reabsorbed, it will not be released again. So eventually, the insect will die. So this is how we use in pesticide. Okay, and you know that we are using Botox and everything in the like surgeries or like in looking good. This Botox is also a neurotoxin. It also works this way. Okay, and we were supposed to do the last part of this section, and then I'll just go through this topic a little bit, and then I'll explain it to you. Okay, this pink one is X chromosome, and this blue one is a Y chromosome. Okay, and I think you know this very well that XX is a girl and XY is a boy. Okay, so actually what happens is that this Y chromosome has a small gene called as SRY gene. Okay. This SRY gene produces one factor which is known as TDF, testis determining factor. This stimulates the development of testis. Okay, that is why males have Y chromosome and they have testis. If the males do not have Y chromosome, they cannot have the testis. So if there are two X chromosomes, the gonads develop as ovaries. Okay. And what happens in testosterone? That testosterone secreting cells, that will become testes, and about 8th to 9th week you can see the male genitalia on the fetus, and at puberty you can have secondary sexual characteristics like males have. They have beard, they have mustache. Since the SRY gene is not there on the Y chromosome, it does not develop into testes, it develops into ovaries. Okay, now what happens during puberty?
Yeah, miss.
Today for PTM your mother is only available or both the parents are available?
Both.
Your father took a leave for today?
No, she came from work.
Oh.
Well, it's nighttime. It's nighttime in Dubai, so like.
Sorry.
So you know.
Sorry.
It's nighttime. It's 8 o'clock at night right now. So like he comes from work.
Okay. Like he doesn't have to take leave, like extra thing he doesn't have to do. No, that is what matters for me.
No.
Okay. Now let's do this. Now what happens in the females? There are ovaries, and ovaries produce these hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Okay, and I'll tell you about menstrual cycle right now. I'm unable to change the color over here. Okay. You know what is menstrual cycle?
Menstrual cycle. I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. See, this is a female reproductive system. Okay. Here you have ovaries. Okay. Ovaries release eggs.
Yeah.
Ovaries, this portion is known as uterus. Okay. The uterus thickens its lining, and it thickens its lining with blood. Okay. Since it
Okay.
thickens its lining with blood, what happens is, like, uterus tries to prepare itself for the coming egg which will be fertilized. Okay. Every month one egg is released. Okay. If this egg is fertilized by the sperm, this female will become pregnant. But if this egg is not fertilized, okay, this egg will be shed, and this lining will also be shed in the form of blood, which is known as menstruation. So every month female has female loses blood for 3 to 5 days from the uterus, from the vagina, which is the opening, this is known as menstruation. Okay, and it continues for 3 to 5 days, and it is cyclic, like it will occur every month on the same date. Okay, so if the egg is released, if the egg is fertilized, this egg will be implanted in the wall of the uterus, and there will be no menstruation. So every month the uterus prepares itself for the pregnancy. Okay, by thickening itself with the blood, and this blood comes out, and this egg also comes out, which is known as menstruation. Okay. Now, okay. So, how do you regulate the cycle? Like, what happens in the cycle is, first, for first 4 days there is a menstrual flow, and this lining starts to get increased. Okay. Now in the ovaries, the ovum is getting developed, and on the 14th day from the start of the menstruation, the ovum is released. Okay. When the ovum is released, this follicle forms a substance which is known as corpus luteum, and then this corpus luteum degenerates. So in the beginning of the cycle, you have high amount of you have low amount of LH and FSH, and on 14th day you see a sudden surge in the LH. Okay, and then they both come to a basal level. In the earlier part of the cycle, you have more estrogen, and in the next part of the cycle, you have more progesterone. And why you have more progesterone? Because this progesterone is produced by the corpus luteum, which actually maintains the entire 9 months of the pregnancy. Okay? So you have any doubt?
Yeah.
So you can ask me. Okay. Do you know what is IVF? In vitro fertilization? Okay.
No.
What do we do? Like those females who cannot give birth. Okay. What do? We take out eggs. We take out the eggs from the ovaries, and we take out the sperms from the male's body. We fuse them in a test tube or in a petri dish. We fuse the sperm and the ovum. This forms a zygote. Okay. This zygote becomes the embryo, and then this embryo is implanted into the uterus of another female. Why we call it as in vitro? Because this fertilization is done in the laboratory. What is fertilization? Fusion of sperm and ovum. And since it takes place inside a petri dish, it is known as in vitro fertilization. Okay. So at one time we implant so many embryos, like at least minimum of the 4 embryos, because embryos might implant or they might not implant. So sometimes this leads to twin children. Sometimes
Okay.
this leads to triplets also. Because if all the embryos get attached, then the female will give rise to 2-3 kids at one time. Getting it what I'm trying to say? Hello? 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 Okay. Now, what happens is that LH is injected, due to which many ovules or many eggs are produced. This is known as superovulation. Okay, and then sperms are collected. Okay, sperms are collected. They are fused in the petri dish, and then they are implanted into the female. Okay, up to 3 healthy embryos are transferred into the uterus to increase the chance of implantation. Okay, and William Harvey was the one who worked on it, like how if the reproduction thing happens and everything. Okay, see, Aristotle's theory was called the seed and soil theory, which stated that male produces a seed, which then forms an egg when it mixes with menstrual blood of the mother, which is wrong. Okay, Harvey studied the uterus of the deer. Okay, then it found that it saw the fetal development up to 2 to 3 months after the mating season. He concluded that Aristotle's theory was incorrect, and he knew he had not come up with the correct method of sexual reproduction. And then he said that reproduction happens when there is a sexual intercourse between the male and the female.
Okay.
Okay, so now you can call your parents, I can talk to them, or if you have any doubts, you can also ask me, and then we'll sum up.
Okay.
Sorry? Okay. Oh, you have the recording, that is why you don't pay attention in the lecture? Okay, but actually today I did not feel that you were the suction, which actually is there every time. Today something was wrong. I don't know what was wrong, but something was definitely wrong. Nothing was wrong. Okay, so let's call your parents and talk to them.
Hi. How are you?
Hello. Yeah.
I'm doing good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, this thing happens. It's all right. Hello. Yeah, yes, sir. I am his biology teacher. I take biology.
Yeah, he has been telling me, yes. He always
You were
tells me.
saying something that he tells you.
Hello?
Okay.
No, it's hanged. I can't hear you. Hello?
Yeah. Yeah. And see, I wanted to tell you about Saksham, that Saksham is doing fine, but I just think that, I don't know, I just want him to be active whenever the class is there. Like before the class, he's tired or something is wrong with him. Now what I'm trying to say that Saksham is little bit inactive while the session. Okay, like I have to force him every time to respond. Okay, and second is that sometimes he's tired because of his basketball or football or something.
No, I'm not able to hear you because your video is again hanging, Or can you have an audio call? I don't know, because maybe because of...
Rest and in the class,
I'm not able to hear you at all.
Little bit problem was that.
Yes, I can hear you, but suddenly again, you get to start.
We were sending him the homework, and he was unable to do the homework just because of his exam in the school. and
Or can we have audio call, because video might take a lot of bandwidth. So can we talk on the audio itself? Yeah, that's okay. I mean, because video will take a lot of bandwidth, again, so again, it will not come. So better to have audio call only.
Yeah. And Saksham.
No worries. Oh, okay. No worries. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, we can discuss this only. Yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for 3-4 days he was suffering from fever. Yeah, I understand that. Only I made a request to the teacher to because again for 3-4 days he was completely down. In fact, yeah.
A very bright kid. I just need a little bit more push from his side. Like I have to poke him always. Like Saksham, do this. Saksham, do that. And today only I asked him about his grades. He did not tell me that what his grades were. I got to know, and I understood that he has a problem in writing. So I have asked him that I'll be sending few questions in which he'll write and he'll send to me. I'll assess and I'll see what all flaws and what all problems are there in his writing, because he is lacking just because of writing only. He's writing answers in like not very detailed. He's writing answers only like just for writing, for the sake of writing. That is what.
Yeah, even this is my feeling, because what happens generally, when I ask him, he says, everything is going fine, even teachers saying, he's a bright chap, bright kid, but when it's not translating into the grades basically or the numbers. So last time when the biology came, so what I've seen, I realized myself. So when, two questions, he does all 100% okay. So if you give multiple choice questions, it's okay.
Yes.
But when it comes to, again, he has to explain basically, so the way he has to, so even I felt like that one, because I was also a biology myself, okay. So I could visualize that. So, when it comes to, again, giving an answer, the way it should be structured, that's where he's lacking basically, okay. So when I had advised him, why don't talk to your teacher and try to ask for the help basically, because I understand everybody goes through different, everybody has to learn something or the other basically, but the way you have to structure your answer, it has to be very clear basically. That is what I feel that is missing. So if you can, you can help him, or guide him, on that aspect, it will really be helpful for us.
That is what I asked him, that he has to write the answers and send it to the company and I'll assess them, because I think that because he said that he scored all the answers were correct of MCQ, so I think he doesn't have a problem in understanding the concept. He is having a problem in writing, so we have to work on writing that way. So we'll just assess and we'll work more on his writing.
Because again, that's why even as a parent we are really worried sometimes, because he is already in grade 11 now, and after again by next couple of years he has to finish his 12th or 13th. So again, he has to put a lot of effort and make sure again, because of what I've seen sometimes, he feels very super confident, I know each and everything, but his knowledge and understanding is not translating into grades somehow. That's what we are seeing for last so many years. That's why this year we thought, even I have been asking him, do you need any help, support, let me know. No, Papa, I know each and everything, but somehow it's not reflecting into his grades basically. So that's why, when I talked to Manish, Testprepkart, then I shared my concern. Then these guys told me, Pankaj, no worries, again, again we will help him. So that, that helps, he needs that kind of help for sure. This is my understanding.
Yes, that is
So if you could, help him or guide him basically in how to structure an answer, okay. So maybe that, if funda was very clear, and with a lot of practice, I'm sure he can do better.
Yes, that is what. And his grades in maths also are too less.
Yes, very poor. And again, I have no idea again how to discuss with him basically. Yeah, because it's happening. I mean, again, somehow I don't know. Again, the way he explains, I see his very casual approach even on the writing basically. So again, he just he's not able to structure his answer. That what I've seen. I mean, so I told him last time, moment he got his biology grade, he shared with us. I was surprised basically.
Okay.
Then I had a word with his biology teacher, we met the teacher also, and then we asked for the assessment sheet. So when I saw the assessment sheet, there I could find myself. His structure is not up to the mark basically. That is leading to a lot of negative marking.
And he told me that he writes everything and then he learns. So that consumes a large amount of time. That is what. So he itself told me that I don't understand from anybody. I just understand only from the book. Book is my best friend. More than the teacher, I understand from the book. This is what he says. This is the way I think he studies, but we just need to push him more because I think he can do way much better in this. I'll just work on more with his writing skills, and it's just from your side, I just need the support that you should just ask him to complete the homework, and whatever is sent from Testprepkart, he completes on time, so that on time we can assess it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand. How you will have all my support from here basically, because I keep on getting emails. So I always push him. Again, whatever I can do, I will do from my side.
Pretty more.
But again, he always has some excuses. Today I was in this one, that one. I understand. Yeah, because generally I keep on getting emails. In all the emails I am marked basically. So I always ask him, but but I have been pushing him certainly, yes. But he has all the excuses all the time.
I think he'll do it by his own only. It's just that. This time he's pretty much serious. I think he won't give any excuses. But it's just that you should at least ask him that what did you do today? What did you do today? How you're preparing for your exam. Just asking him.
Yeah, I think same thing. He understood it basically, but proper guidance. I think he can do better. Yeah.
Only Wednesday and Wednesday. I always ask him that how are you doing? How are you doing in mathematics? How are you doing in this subject? How are you doing in that subject? So at least you at least keep a check on him that what did you do today? How much did you understood today? How much did you write today? Or at least if you are good in mathematics, just ask him to solve some questions of mathematics every day. And at least you can assess how he's working. That way. Saksham is great. Saksham will do good, but it's just that he needs a little bit more push from the backside. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, sir? You want to say to me? If you have any query or something?
I understand. Yeah. I understand. No, again, I just shared my concern basically, because certainly, yes, because, people, a student can do a lot of hard work, everything, but ultimately it has to translate to grade. Because that will determine, you know, what kind of university he's going to, basically.
Sure, I'll do it from my side.
So if I think, you know, if he can improvise upon, you know, how to structure his answers and be more communicative through writing, then I think, you know, we will see a lot of improvement. But I'm not sure what kind of help he's getting from the school, but if you guys can guide him, it will be great help. Yeah. Okay. Same here, I think, you know, it was required, in fact, you know, thank you very much for the feedback. Yeah. Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.